Attention business founders, the buyer of your business is a full-time predator and you are their part-time prey. At Candor Advisors, they've mastered the art of navigating these waters. Their unique approach with a track record of 60-plus M&A transactions exceeding $1 billion ensures you get the best outcomes. Discover the 6 secrets to selling your business and embrace purpose over profit. Welcome to EBITDA University, where knowledge is power. Let Candor Advisors guide you through the complexities of selling your successful founder-led business. Don't be prey, be empowered. Visit candoradvisors.com for a better outcome. That's CANDOR advisors.com. Candor Advisors, turning transactions into triumphs.
Next on this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
Empowered Franchisee is my company. I love the word empowerment. It's something that people enjoy and breathe and every day. And there's all sorts of ways we could take that conversation. But people's dreams of owning a small business really come down to wanting to be free, wanting to have flexibility, and that is both professional and personal, so they can enjoy the quality of life and lifestyle that they want to enjoy and not be driven by someone else.
Driver picks the music. Shotgun shuts his K-Hole and has to listen to the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Nice Guys on Business podcast. So today will be one of those inspirational episodes. This is a guy, he is the epitome of excitement. It features a guy, his name is David Greenberg. He's a founder of the Empowered Franchisee. It's a seasoned corporate exec. He's turned successful multi-unit franchise owner. If you don't know what any of those words mean, totally fine. Hang out with us a little bit today. We're going to share a little bit about what David does and how he does it. Join us as we explore his journey from overcoming ageism to thriving in entrepreneurship, proudly owning franchises in not only Nashville, Sarasota, Huntsville. Where else, David? Have I missed any states there or cities along the way?
No, right on target.
In his brief yet impactful conversation that we're about to have with him, discover the resilience, the determination, and the strategic mindset that propelled David from the corporate world to his entrepreneurial success. We talked a little bit about it right before I hit record. He might be well advised to go on our other shows, Ford Mustang, the early years, and Ford pickup trucks, the early years too. But today we have him here on the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Welcome, David, to the podcast.
Thank you, Doug. Really happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you here. We're talking about some of my favorite things, systems that you can actually turn into franchises, and then how people actually take advantage of that and how you can make money from franchises. But I want to start with a little bit about this corporate guy turned franchisee. So why don't we start there? What even inspired you to want to take a leap from the safe and controlled environment of the corporate world to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I'd have to give credit to my inspiration to my grandfather and my father.
All right.
So entrepreneurship is in our roots. It's in my DNA and it's in my character. So the inspiration just took too long to come out because my grandfather always said, do you want to be the hunter or the hunted? And there was one answer. And in his pursuit to grow his business, which he did successfully, he always challenged me to think about eating what I kill every day. And that's the root of entrepreneurship. But what I did is I took a job with Ford Motor Company because I love cars and I love the business. I love dealers. And I took that route and was inspired to be part of the corporate world and build my career that way.
You know, it's interesting. There is a certain amount of security and safety that's in the corporate world, but it lacks, if I'm going to say this in a non-offensive way to anybody out there that still works in the corporate world, but it lacks the excitement and the opportunity that I feel like you can only find when you're taking a little bit more risk. But some people are kind of adverse to that risk. I'm not a risk-loving kind of guy. I'm a very conservative guy, but I've been in the riskier world of entrepreneurship for 30 years. What was it that was the catalyst? I know you were inspired by your grandfather, but what was it that the catalyst that kind of propelled you into this world?
To be 100% honest, it was fear.
All right, fear's a good motivator
Fear
sometimes.
is a difficult thing to work with.
Yeah.
And I saw my grandfather, and I remember my grandfather conquering fear because it was all in his control, right? As an entrepreneur, being the captain of his own calendar, being the captain of his ship, he drove the success and the lifestyle that he wanted. In the corporate space, fear is different. Fear is something you don't control.
Mm.
It can be unhealthy. It can divide families. So you do get inspired to climb the corporate ladder, but you're going to experience recessions. You're going to experience reorgs. Right now, a lot of people experiencing ageism, which is real. People like us are experienced and expensive, and they devalue experience and want less expensive people, which means they want younger people.
Mm.
So the fear really drove me to make the decision to move into becoming an entrepreneur because I wanted to manage it and control it and not be controlled by it.
One of the nice things about, I think part of your journey that you have stepped into along the way is you're in a facet of entrepreneurism, if that's a word. I think that's a word. The facet that you're in the franchised side, you're dealing a lot with franchisors, franchisees, is that you're still dealing with a pretty structured system. So while there is risk in this level of becoming an entrepreneur, it's a little bit more safe than actually having to deal with creating, doing all of the systems, everything on your own. So how did franchisees, or how did the franchise world attract you to start leaning towards it?
So, like a lot of the people that I work with, I had a skill set, right? I was successful in the corporate space. I had a skill set that was, built in understanding the P&L and the balance sheet. I was built in how to develop people and how to manage complex things and build teams and lead. That's what drove my success, along with my business acumen and marketing acumen and that stuff. And really, I was smarter because the people underneath me were so smart. But really, when I think of that question, you can go the W-2 route, and if you say that's less risky, well, good luck. Okay, you got to think about that twice.
Right.
You can go the startup route, which is exciting and sexy, and that's cool, but be prepared. Right, you're on an island by yourself, and probably I participated in this startup, and we spent as much, if not more, as the kind of fees you would pay to get into a franchise, which, in my opinion, it's a proven business system.
Right.
It's your talent and your capital going into a market that's not developed with a proven business system. Your fellow franchisees are there for a support model, so you're not on an island by yourself. They'll share best practices. They'll tell you what they did right and what they did wrong. Your franchisor, survives and lives on royalties and the growth of royalties, so their success is aligned with your success. So it takes the risk out of becoming an entrepreneur, where you still can have the individuality and success of driving and creating your own destiny, but you have that with the support structure that takes away that risk.
So you have a company, an organization called the Empowered Franchisee. The slogan: helping people realize their dreams. I love it. I want you to maybe take a dive into explaining exactly what that is and how you got into this side of the business.
So when I left the corporate space, it was when I actually landed in Nashville, spent some time. We sold a company. I called a friend who was a franchise consultant who I'd known for a long, long time. And he guided me through the process of finding the right franchise. And my wife and I and a couple of partners ended up buying into a business that is an executive model franchise. You work on it, not in it, all those good things. And I can tell you more about that. But he took me through the process of due diligence and investigation. And I ended up in the right space. And over the next 5 years, we built 6 locations in a very very nice business. And then I went back to him and said, what do I do now? And he says, well, why don't you just take your decades of experience and help other people do the same like I do? I said, oh, that's a cool idea. So I joined a company called Franchisee, which manages the portfolio of our 200 plus franchisors that I work with. Empowered Franchisee is my company. I love the word empowerment. It's something that people enjoy and breathe and every day. And there's all sorts of ways we could take that conversation. But people's dreams of owning a small business really come down to wanting to be free, wanting to have flexibility, and that is both professional and personal, so they can enjoy the quality of life and lifestyle that they want to enjoy and not be driven by someone else.
So let's talk directly to those in our Nice Guy community. We have a lot of entrepreneurs. We have a lot of people that are, working a side hustle. They might have one foot out the door of corporate America. They might have one foot in the door still of corporate America, trying to figure out what it is exactly that they want to do as their next step. Knowing that brief descriptor of our community, who is an ideal candidate to want to talk to you when it comes to, starting a franchise, or what things do you need to know from them before you even determine if even franchising is something that they should even consider?
It's a beautiful question. I write a blog every Saturday, and I would break that question down into many different segments. And I've written blogs on each one at empoweredfranchisee.com. Someone relate to, okay, how do you take parallel paths? How do you, the different type of operating models within a franchise? And I'll talk to that in a bit. But you asked specifically who's the ideal candidate, right? Mm-hmm. So first of all, six-figure liquidity and seven-figure balance sheet, a net worth, right? That's what you really need to become a multi-unit franchisee. Along with that, a skill set that you've developed and haven't realized that has applied or made you succeed as an entrepreneur or in the corporate world can also be applied to a franchise, right? You got to be a really good business person. You got to be a nice guy or gal. And you need to, be able to lead teams and manage people. Other than that, everything else will fall in line. So we've talked about capital. We talked about capacity as an individual from experience, and character as an individual qualification. If you have those three, and you really want to look at finding freedom, finding additional revenue streams, creating a legacy plan for your family or others, there's different ways that we can take it. Typically, people with those experience and skill sets and that character and that level of financial wherewithal come to me and say, hey, listen, I'm either in transition or I'm about to be in transition, or I want to take on a side hustle to create an additional revenue stream so I don't dilute what I have saved for my retirement or my family in future generations, and create cash flows to maintain my lifestyle as I sunset what I do.
One of the things that I had to my advantage in this particular interview was that you and I had a conversation before we decided that you were going to come on the show, which was terrific. Or I think we had decided you were going to come on the show, but we just decided, let's have a conversation ahead of time. Or no, you called me. You just picked up the phone and called me. Right. My phone never rings. I'm like, whoever's calling me, I want to talk to them because my phone never rings. So we had a really neat conversation about your business model, specifically how you do what you do. And I was having a hard time wrapping my head around it, only because you kept saying, I don't charge for what I do. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you got to charge somebody. Somebody's got to be paying you. Like, you're not infinitely wealthy. Maybe you are, but so can you explain how your business model works and how it really works to the advantage of those people in my listening audience right now?
Yeah. So, if someone is thinking about owning a business through franchising, you can hit Google, 4,000 plus, good luck, have a lot of fun. You're going to burn up some hours.
Yeah.
You can call me. All right. Yes, my services are free, but we'll qualify each other in 15 minutes and figure out if it makes sense to work together. Right.
Right.
And we can figure that out. And I talk to about 5 or 7 a week, and 3 or 5 of them decide to work with me, and we make sense to work together. So we'll have that time. So my rewards come from the franchisor, right? I will work with you to understand what kind of business characteristics you're looking for. What kind of part of the labor pool do you want to work with? Do you want to work on it? Do you want to work in it? We go through a consultation and deep dive. What the right fit is. I'm not eHarmony, but I'm getting pretty close. When I go back into the portfolio and bring the match, you're not swiping right or left with me. You're actually, I'm going to bring you something, 3 or 4 opportunities that are a really good fit. And we'll walk through a very structured 6-week process of due diligence that gets you to a place where you're really confident about your decision. And I get my rewards from helping people get to that decision. And if you make that decision, we all get happy.
Is there a specific vertical market that you tend to like to work, or you tend to gravitate more within, or do you work within a bevy of franchisors that want to share their services with people that are interested in buying?
So I work across Canada and the U.S. So wherever you are, I'm happy to engage because we have opportunities for you. I work in all verticals because it's really important. It's not about me and what I do. It's about you. And it's about your characteristics. We have franchisors on a continuum, right? $100,000 all in owner operator stuff. You're doing more than buying yourself a job because you're creating wealth. You're not building wealth for your W-2 employer. You're building wealth for yourself. You're building an asset that you can sell. So you move up that continuum into from service-based into facility-based stuff. You might move into a multi-million-dollar facility-based investment. Those are businesses that you're going to, take a manage the manager approach. You're going to work on them and not in them. But in between is a sweet spot for me where you don't have to look at a 7-figure investment, probably half of that. And you might choose to do multi-locations or multi-territories. And you can build that into a very meaningful top line. And if you're an executive that can build teams and manage people, you're going to roll up your sleeves. Your entrepreneurial sleeves and muscles are going to be flexed building that business. But once you do that, if you're good at what you do, you will hover up, focus on KPIs, focus on growth, be the brand ambassador. You'll have the team working for you, and you're going to enjoy a lifestyle, which I call the executive model lifestyle, of being able to, work 15, 10, 5 hours a week, as long as you've got the right team in place.
What are some of the, it's interesting that you say that, because part of where I know that a lot of franchisees go to is, I guess I'm just going to be trading my 8-hour-a-day corporate job with my 12-hour-a-day franchise owner job. But what you're saying is that doesn't have to be the case.
Well, I'd ask that person, are you a micromanager? Are you doing the job of all your employees? Why are you working 12 hours? Just take that skill set of leading teams, managing people, and delegating, and putting the KPIs, the systems and structure, which are really brought to you by the franchisor, and making those work. And if you have confidence in your self-assessment of you being able to do that, you will not be that 50, 60, 80 hour. You own a business, right? If it catches on fire, you have to do something, right? If your employee gets hit by a car, you have to have the ability to replace that person. But that happens in your team and your job too. So I would love the conversation with that person and talk to them, because if they're worried about that, they just might not be the right person.
Right. No, I totally relate to what you're saying. And I love that your approach to having the conversation to determine which direction that they want to go with, what opportunities they want to see. How do you decide? And I know we don't have time to get into this in a 20-minute or 25-minute conversation here. And sometimes this could take 6 weeks with someone as they're doing their due diligence. But how do you make a decision about what direction to share or direct somebody to go in from a handful of conversations? How do you, what information is key as you are having that beginning relationship with that person that's connecting with you?
Well, it starts out with a 15-minute phone call, right? But then we take 90 minutes and we get to know each other. I have a questionnaire for them to fill out. There's always a gas pedal and a brake in a relationship. So I want partners, right? Whatever your partnership is, spouse, wife, husband, whatever it is, it's nice to work together. And in 90 minutes, we will have a very thoughtful discussion. I will understand what your skill set is. And I've been doing this for a while, so we get it, right? And we'll break down what business characteristics you want. Like a lot of people say, okay, I'm fine with Johnny the dishwasher. Oh, by the way, I don't do food, just so you know. Don't call me if you want food.
Right.
But everything else, I want to work at the higher end of the labor pool. I want to work with people who are licensed professionals. Okay, that's going to take us into a recession resistant space called beauty and wellness, right? Very good space to be in. Or, I want to work in essential core services. I'm really okay with working with the trades, right? I don't want the overhead of a lease. I want an industrial space, and I want trucks. I want trailers. And I'm like, cool, we got that for you. You want B2B, you want B2C, you want recurring revenue, customer acquisition. We go through all that stuff. And, by the end of the time, I say, wow. And then in 90 minutes, I'll recap it. And then I go to work to figure out what's a good fit and what's available in the area they want to open a business.
I want to make sure that I'm emphasizing this again. I know we just talked about it, but it's always good. I remember reading my kids' bedtime stories at night, and the next day they wanted the same story over again. So I want to repeat this, even though those in our audience have just heard this just a couple of minutes ago. Your fee is paid for by the franchisor. That's the person that owns the franchise. This is not paid by the guy that you're in my audience that you are talking to. So can we emphasize that one more time?
My services are free. Okay. Now, if you're not engaged in the process, I will fire you.
Everybody got
That's
that.
fair. Because, when you get into this process, how you behave in the process is what kind of business partner you're going to be to the franchisor and vice versa. Right. So, this is like, I'll set you up on a blind date. It worked for me 32 years ago, how I met my wife, but we'll take you through the process with 3 or 4. If you don't show up on time, or if you do a no-show on a meeting, that's what you're going to do to your employees. Right. So I've seen this enough where it's like, I don't think this is the right time, or there's something holding you back from it. We figure out in the process. I have no problem with that, right? I invest time until people are not investing time back. And that's why, I'm about efficiency, and I'm about giving back what people give. And that's how we work together in the process. And to be clear, there's another real thing. I'm okay with 2 answers at the end of this process. Yes and no. Yes is great. We celebrate. I've helped you realize your dream. You're going to become a business owner, and this is really cool. A no, I get it. It's not for you. Okay. Hopefully in the process, I've made a friend, and you're going to send me a referral.
What's really nice about this too is that, David's not looking to you to come to him with all of the answers already outlined, and, your pencil is sharpened and you're ready to write down sign the agreement on day one. There's part of it that's the exploration. It's understanding what you actually want to get a hold of. You're the guy that can advise them, direct them. You're like the financial advisor when it comes to, you're the franchisal director when it comes to just, they don't have to come to you saying, I want a McDonald's. I already know that I want the McDonald's, and I'm trying now to connect to the McDonald's. What they're saying is, I don't know what I want. I know what I want to get into the franchise business. I don't know how to do that. Can you help me? Is that fair?
Yeah, they're always about QSRs, quick service restaurants. They all want Chick-fil-A's, which isn't a franchise. It's a licensing agreement. So I love that, because I'm like, why? Why do you want all those moving parts, especially if they're perishable? Why do you want all that labor? You can do that in core services with a team of 5, 10. You can build it up and get the same result in terms of financial freedom and personal fulfillment. So people are really surprised. I shared with you, I was a car guy, right? I love cars, right? Yeah. I ended up in the beauty and wellness space. I used to complain about how much my wife spent on that stuff. Now I'm like, hey, I love cosmetologists and hairstylists, right? They are fantastic people. They're smart, they're planned, they're creative, estheticians, massage therapists, nail techs, waxologists, all that. Great trades to be in. And who'd have thunk, right? I was into transmissions and axles and marketing and branding.
We're in, as of the recording of this, we're in December of 2023. I think this airs in January of 2024, but I'm really curious, like, what are the hot directions right now? Is it that space that you just mentioned, health and wellness?
So there's really 4. And I would say, listen, anything around self-care, right? We all understand what we did to ourselves in the pandemic. Everyone is in some degree of a health journey, if they admit it or not. So anything around boutique fitness, boutique wellness, mental, physical health, all that weight loss, all that stuff is really doing well, right? Moderate investments, nice return, recurring revenue, professional level employees. Great spot to be in. I love that space. All right. So the other space I really love is central services. Anything that surrounds a home, a group of people, or commercial properties. So roofs, paint, gutters, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, all that stuff is really doing well, right? All right. And very moderate on the investment, very efficient on the investment compared to the opportunity. And then you move into in-home senior care, right? Or some type of senior care. It's a reality. I went through it this year with my family, and you either need to be guided to the right place or you're going to keep them as home as long as you can. In-home senior care is really a prevalent segment in the industry. And the fourth one, what did everyone get during the pandemic? A dog, right? In many cases, there are more dogs in America than children under 18 or some crazy stat like that. Wow. But, boutique grooming, pet care, pet hotels, there's mobile grooming facility. There's all sorts of stuff in pet care. But you got to have a love for dogs. And then there's one on the side that I really like, which is childhood enrichment and development. You have to have a heart for it and passion for it. And if you do, got some really nice things to talk to you about.
Nice. All right. So those are your marching orders, Nice Guy community. We have an expert right in front of me, virtually and figuratively, right in front of me. And we want to get you connected with Dave, because Dave, he's the guy, the empowered franchisee, helping people realize their dreams. That's his company, and he wants to help you. And there's no risk. Have a conversation with him. If you've considered this as something that you want to do, jump onto a phone call. Or do you do Zoom meetings now? Does everybody do face-to-face on Zooms? Is that how you work?
Yeah, I do them all on Zoom. I love it, right? And this thing's about trust, right? So everyone, go do your homework on me. Check out my website, empoweredfranchisee.com. Read my blogs. Go to my YouTube channel. Listen to my wife. Listen to me. You'll see everything. Build trust. Go to my LinkedIn profile. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. You can find the David Greenberg in Nashville, Tennessee, and check me out. And then book a 15-minute call with me. Call it a virtual coffee. Call it whatever you want. 15 minutes, we'll figure out whether it makes sense to work together.
I love it. I love it. Risk-free and opportunity to gain some valuable education. And Dave Greenberg's on the other end of that phone, and he will be there for you. So, Dave, thanks for sharing. Am I missing any is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you that we want my community to know?
No, I think it was perfect. And I think, if there's a headline for me, I was a corporate executive. I turned into an entrepreneur. Now I own multi-unit franchises across 3 states. And I'm here to help you do the same with my decades of experience. And it doesn't cost you a dime.
Dave, that's too long a headline. I need a much shorter headline. I need a better headline. Let's try it again. Can you give me a really short headline that I can use as the title of the episode? I'll let you. You know what? I think I'm just going to call the episode The Empowered Franchisee. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Unveiling the opportunity to become your own boss and experience the freedom and flexibility of being an entrepreneur.
Again, still way too long. But still fun to have a conversation. Nice Guy community. Don't forget to connect with Dave. All the information that we just shared will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, and in accordance with my court-mandated community service, I'm Steve O'Brien. Only 27 more voiceovers to go, and then maybe they'll let me leave the state and take this ankle bracelet off.